2025. Year is flying by. Um, how's everybody tonight? This is Patrick with MT Knives. We're going to do a shop update, talk about how things are going with the new shop building. Let's see if I get this. Sorry, guys. There we go. All right. Hopefully, this doesn't fall over on me. One watching. Yes, thank you. Thank you. All right. So, yeah, I'm sorry I missed last week. I guess I went live last week, but it was like 8 o'clock at night or something. I don't know. It was, I've been busy. So, I think, I don't remember where we were. Things have been, yeah. So, I think the last we talked, I kind of said I wasn't going to do ICF. I was going to do timber frame. I was going to do something. Anyways, here we are, not much longer. And guess what? I ended up building my shop out of ICF. When I started looking at going timber framing route, I was like, if I do it myself, it's going to take too long. I'm going to get some help. I talked to some people, got a quote on labor, and labor cost is astronomical. It's unreal to me what people charge for labor. Yeah, I'm feeling old. I feel like, because, I say what old people say. It's like, when I was a kid, whatever. Wages, I seen something just the other day. If you think wages are too high right now, comment too high. And if you think they're too low, then comment too low. I would be interested to know, do you feel like labor is, and here's the problem, right? Like, we're going to get into this, I guess, but the real problem is they keep printing money, devaluing our dollar, and don't get me started. Anyways, the problem is our dollar is getting more and more worthless every day. Even people that make good money are struggling to pay their bills. And yeah. So I hope that's not you. Hope you're doing well. But the whole, I don't know. Seems like we're in such a mess with everybody's got to make more money. Everybody's charging more money. The cost of everything's going through the roof. I think something about like comparing prices for McDonald's, and I think they said from 2019 to 2025, like the price of a Big Mac in 2019 was something like just under $5, $4.50, I don't know, something. And now a Big Mac's like almost $8. And it's just same with like fries, all of it. Like a lot of stuff had over doubled. And so therefore everybody's just got to make more money. And so anyways, yes, it does suck. I've always been intrigued about like Weimar Germany, hyperinflation. And you sit there and you think, well, I would have done this or I would have done that. And it's like, now we're living through it. And you're like, okay, well, what would you really do? It's easy to hypothetically say, well, I would do this or I would do that. It's different when you live in the midst of it. So anyways, the labor was going to be unreal to get a shop done quickly. And so it made ICF look more attractive. And so then I was like, well, you know what? I'm just going to do a 12-foot high ceiling, because when it comes to a shop, eventually I would like to have a CNC. And so I talked to a friend of mine who, yeah, the market's going to reset for sure. I talked to a friend of mine who like is the maintenance guy over a big shop. He deals with all the setting up of equipment and all that kind of stuff. And I asked him, I'm like, hey, I'm building this shop. I want to eventually have a CNC. Like, what do I need infrastructure wise? And he's like, well, we got 12-foot ceilings, but it'd be really nice if we had another foot, if we had like 13 foot. And originally, my shop design was going to be a 20-foot tall front wall and a 15-foot tall back wall, 2 stories in the front. But for cost sake, I was like, well, I'll just do a 12-foot tall wall, and I'll buy some trusses. I'll roll up some trusses and just get it done. Yeah, she put metal on the outside or whatever siding you want to put on the outside. I'll get to that. So anyways, I was going to do this. I bought enough block to do a 12-foot wall. And then I was like, I already have these trusses that I bought that are used. They're like 30-foot long. They're kind of rough, but I bought them thinking they may work for my shop. And then I priced trusses. The trusses for the shop was going to be $2,500, plus you got lumber on top of that, your steel and all that. And so then I got to thinking, I was like, I need to do the single slope roof like I want it. I need approximately 4 foot, 5 foot of elevation gain to have a 212 slope roof or so. And so I was like, if I drop my back wall a course of block and move it to the front, then I wouldn't need a whole lot more block to get, another 2 courses. And so then I bought some more block, and I did that. I dropped the back wall. So the back wall is 10'8", and then the front wall is 16 foot. And I didn't think about when I did that. My windows are 4 foot tall. And so, you got an 8 foot tall ceiling. You got give a foot for the floor. You're 9 foot, and then you have 7 foot, but yada yada yada. Anyways, I was running out of room for headers for my windows, and anyways, I got it to work, but it's all crammed in, and it's not. Ideally, I would have taken the wall a little bit taller, but then the other problem comes in. It's really difficult to. The taller you go up with ICF, the more difficult it is to pour, and you may have to break it down into 2 pours. So that's part of the other reason why I decided not to do my original design, was because I probably would have come in and I would have poured the first 12-foot lift or so, 10-foot lift, and then I would have come back, rented a pump truck again, and poured the second half of my pour. So it adds some complication to it. Anyways, so I got my ICF block. What was it? 2 weeks ago Monday? I think it was 2 weeks ago Monday. And then it's been a whirlwind. I got my block 2 weeks ago Monday. We got all the block in and ready for concrete in like 10 days. And
you had it poured in 9.
We had it poured in 9 days, and it was like 7 working days because I didn't work that Friday or Saturday, and then Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday we poured Wednesday, and we worked we worked all night Tuesday. What was that? Tuesday night. Got up early Tuesday morning, had some help come in, worked, and I could see that I really needed to cancel the pour if I wasn't going to be ready. They wanted me to cancel it on Monday, and I'm like, no, not a chance. And then I was like, well, if worst comes to worst, push comes to shove, I can cancel it Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday morning. But we worked through the night, and when the concrete truck showed up, we still weren't ready. I was putting in the last of the rebar as they were setting up the pump truck. So it was very stressful. The bad thing about ICF is if you have a blowout, what a blowout is if your form breaks, the concrete just starts spilling everywhere. And you can have a blowout that, you might be able to fix or stop. It's never good. But once you have that blowout, you're kind of hosed. So a lot of money on the line, a lot of stress. I'd never poured ICF before, and I was worried about how it was going to go. And then what does the pump truck operator say? He shows up. He's like, "Oh man," he's like, "I don't care much for this block. It tends to blow out." I was like, "Shut up, dude. Shut up." But thankfully, it went well. 0 blowouts. I calculated we needed about 36 yards. For some reason, the concrete company thought we needed 40 yards concrete. So they showed up with the concrete, and there was 3 trucks lined up. They were sending them fast. And the other thing with the ICF is really they say you should only lift 2 to 4 feet per hour. So at that rate, it should have took me about 4 hours to pour that front wall. The pump truck operator, he did great. He had like 25 years of experience, and he did a really good job, but he was pouring aggressively. We were lifting 4 to 6 feet per lift, and we pumped the entire shop in a little over 2 hours. 36 yards of concrete. It was fast, and it went well. And so then I had an extra 3 yards of concrete. Unfortunately, I had one of my workers frame up a step so we could use the concrete. Poured, it wasn't much concrete, but we poured a step out the back door, and the rest I poured into the area that typically washes out when we get rain, because I want to bring that elevation up anyways. I figured I paid for the mud, I'm at least going to use it. So anyways, it went well. So that was last Wednesday. Stripped the forms off Sunday, and yes, stripped the forms off Sunday and returned them yesterday. And of course, it's about a little over an hour drive, or hour and a half, closer to 2 hours, or hour and a half drive to take the forms back, and it started snowing. So that was fun. It's always fun pulling a heavy trailer in slick roads. Yeah. That's just it. Like, if you do something, I can do carpentry work. I am not fast at doing carpentry work, and everything takes me longer. And that's kind of the issue is like, I don't mind paying somebody who's skilled at what they do. But if they can't get done the amount of work that I can get done, and I'm not fast, like, I don't feel like you should be making whatever prevailing wage is for that job. Now, and that's the difficult thing is I wouldn't mind paying, but then too, I always underestimate how long a job's going to take. So, I really should have probably took more time to get my shop done. It's one thing to get the block stacked, but then after you get it stacked, you have to brace everything. You have to get all your, bracing in, all your rebar in and everything. So, I wouldn't have had to pull an all-nighter if I would have planned more reasonably. But anyways, I brought some chunks of this ICF here because a lot of people don't know what it is. So it's styrofoam. There's 2 and some inches of styrofoam on either side of the concrete. This is a 6-inch block. You can get 4, 6, 8-inch block. So I have 6 inches of concrete walls, and then these plastic tabs here are for your rebar. The block is reversible, so no matter which way you stick this block in, it's right. And then you stick your horizontal rebar either on the outside or the inside, and then when you come back and you drop your vertical rebar down the center, then your alternating rebar holds the center rebar so that it can't move in the form. So you don't even have to tie any of your rebar. These brackets hold them in place, and then you drop it in. The rebar holds the other rebar in place.
You also have to close
Oh yeah, and then there's some metal clips, which what they do is they lock from this form down to the next form. Well, here, I'll show you. So these forms kind of snap together or go together kind of like this. And then you got some metal clips, that wire clips that will clip here. And then you can take, and when your blocks are stacked next to each other, those wire clips will clip from block to block to hold them together. So I went through the wire clips like they were free. I think they sent me 3 boxes and I bought an extra box, and so I used almost 1,000 clips on my building. On the corners, I doubled them because corners are where a lot of times you'll have your blowouts, and I used a ton of clips. So anyways, my walls are up, and today we've got most of the form stripped down, and today I went and got the first truss set up in place. The trusses are going to take some work. I'm going to have to do some straightening. Going to have to do some work on them because they demoed them out of a place, and when they didn't take much care in how they demoed it. So anyways, it'll be interesting to see how long it takes to get the roof on. And then on these blocks too, so this plastic piece is a solid piece, and it comes inside the block, and it's got a webbing about that thick. And that webbing is what you screw into. And so you can screw, and they have these webbings, I think every 6 inches. And so every 6 inches you have plastic screw strips that you can screw into. And that's what you'll attach your siding or your sheetrock or whatever you're going to put on the inside and out. You screw it to that. So, but I mean, when the building's done, so like my insulation's all in place, all I have to do now is buy some steel and screw it up, put it on the outside. I think I'm gonna put steel on the inside too. I don't like sheetrock, and I want something that's going to be, a fire barrier. So I think I'm going to go with steel. I talked to a steel company. What was that? Yesterday? Yeah, yesterday, and they'll sell the steel. They take rolls of steel and they form the sheets, and so they'll sell just the steel unrolled. So it'll be flat, and then I can screw that straight to the wall. Hat channel purlings on the outside. I'm not sure what that is. I'm going to have some C purlins on the roof. I'm putting up these metal trusses, and then I'll weld C purlins to the roof, and then metal on the roof, metal on the outside. Are you talking about for on the outside to give it some air ventilation, whatever? I'm not sure. I don't know. I'll look into that. My plan was just to screw the steel straight to the metal sheeting on. Oh, horizontal. Yeah, I'll probably do that. That's not a bad idea. Thanks for mentioning that. When I did my cabins, I did the first one. It was a cabin plan that I kind of modified, and I framed it like you would a wall, and then I didn't want to sheet it. I put house wrap on it, and then I put my metal on, and so obviously, screw, like the second cabin I did, I put 1-bys up on the outside so I could have nice screw lines and all that. Hat channel, I'll have to look that up. So yeah, that's where we're at. Hoping to get some doors and windows in. I already have the windows. I need to pick up some doors. I got a quote on a steel garage door, getting another quote on another steel door, but just takes a lot of time and money, and I don't have a lot either. So what was that? Any other comments I missed, babe? No. So yeah, that's where I've been. That's what I've been up to. we tried to go live last Tuesday about 8:30 ish. We were still out working on the. Oh, we were working to get ready. Yeah, we were just starting our all nighter. So we set up the camera, and then I got a phone call, and it messed up the live feed. So then we had some other problems. So, anyways, it was busy. Yeah. I haven't done a ton. I've done my very first shop I built with utility poles. Being a lineman, I had access to a lot of used poles, and actually, I got a bunch of free lumber from work. So my first shop, it was basically mostly salvage material, which was nice. And then this shop, it's not quite so much salvage materials. So I'm really happy with the ICF though, because I've known about ICF for 20 plus years, and I've always wanted to build with it. Just never really had the opportunity to, and then I really wasn't looking like it was going to be feasible. I still got still a work in progress. Still got to come up with some funds, but we're going to get her dried in and get to work. Let's see this skeletal. This one, this is a Genesis.
It's your fidget.
It's my fidget spinner. Yeah, this is actually one of Jessica's homemade Wanderlust knives, which if you want, I think there's like 6 or 7 left. This one is, something's wrong with it. I don't know. Let me see. I'm not exactly sure. Oh, this was one. This is actually from 2023. This is a 2023. The logo got messed up, and most people probably wouldn't even know, but the logo for some reason kind of two-toned. It's kind of brownish and black in some areas. So anyways, it got called. This was reject. But then we got talons. We got some talons. They're on the site. We got some talons with handles. We got some talons without handles. And then, hey, hats. We got lots of hats. My wife has been busy. My daughter's been busy. Alpaca hats. It's cold. You know what? These alpaca hats keep you nice and cozy when it's cold out. So I love mine. I wear it all the time. Nice sheep's foot. Thank you. So, do you know the difference between a sheep's foot and a Wharncliffe? There you go. Trivia question. Anybody know? This may actually be considered a Wharncliffe blade. Maybe, I think. The difference between a sheep's foot and a Wharncliffe, my understanding is, I'm going to get it wrong. I'm going to be so wrong. Anyways, now I forget. One of them is less pointy. Both of them have the curved down top. I think the sheep's foot is not pointy. It's what sailors would use.
A sheep's foot has a straight back that drops sharply near the tip, resulting in a blunt point, while a Wharncliffe has a gradual, consistent slope from the spine to the edge.
Yep. So this would maybe be considered more a Wharncliffe because it's kind of pokey. Sailors like sheep's foot knives because getting tossed about on the sea, you don't want to poke something. Yes, there you go. So there's a little trivia for you. A lot of knife terms get used improperly, including myself. Maybe a reverse Tonto knife version. There you go. You know, I had high hopes to, even like the Genesis, to do a Tonto version and a sheep's foot version or whatever. And maybe. What I found in the early days was I started doing Cerakoting. There you go. I started doing Cerakoting. And then you got all these different colors, you got all these different options, and seems like you never had what you needed. It just made everything more difficult logistically for a small shop. I'm a one-man shop. My family helps, but I do a lot of the work. They're doing more. I kind of like what Henry Ford said with the Model T. You can have a Model T in any color you want as long as it's black. And so I quit offering Cerakoted versions and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Eventually, you know, I could see, I think part of it too was I wasn't happy with the Cerakote that was done on my knives. It was wearing off where the sheath rubbed, which, you know, whatever. I would like to do some knives. It's called DLC diamond, some diamond coating. But right now, I just got to get a shop done and kind of get things going. And then I'll have more time to play around with some other stuff. So, anyways, that's about what I got. I'm excited to make some progress on the roof. DLC, super slick, yeah. I'm excited to get the roof on my shop. Finish off 6.9 stainless. Nice. I'm excited to get the roof on my shop, get some windows in, get some doors in, get some heat going, and get my tools moved in. So it's funny. No matter how big you build it, today, putting in the trusses, it starts closing in, and I was thinking about, you know, where the second story is going to be, where the bathroom is going to be, and I'm like, this really big open space is getting smaller by the minute. But it's nice. I've had my table saw over there. Yes, I will be doing classes, and that's what I'm looking forward to. Having a space where I can bring people in and teach some classes. I'm trying, like, I really want to, like, right now, start scheduling out next year classes. There you go. I want to just, like, put some dates on the calendar and start filling up a class. But then I'm like, I don't know. It's probably not, the shop's not going to be ready. But then there's nothing like a deadline that helps you get stuff done. So if I have a class scheduled, I might not be ready, but I'll be pulling some all-nighters beforehand to make sure that I'm at least where I need to be. So it's hard. I hate putting things on the calendar because it seems like it's hard to. I want to make sure to deliver. So, anyways, I haven't been running. I haven't run in, I don't know. No, not almost a month. Come on now. It's probably been almost 2 weeks. I was going to run today. I'm definitely going to run this week. I might run tomorrow. But I need to get running again because, you know, you do all that hard work and you lose it pretty quick. So, anyways, I appreciate you guys joining in. Sign me up. There you go. I'm looking forward to doing some classes, getting some people here, having a good time. And it's going to be interesting because I know I've had several people say they want to come do a class. I thought about, like, trying to have some sort of grand opening or something with my stakeholders. We'll see. Classes for bladesmithing. Yeah, so I would do some sharpening classes, some knife making classes. I'm open to. I've done some classes in the past. I've done some private classes. I've done some big classes. The problem is like, what do you want to cover and how much time do you have? So some classes really need to be a week long. Some classes can be a day class, but you're not going to get a whole lot done in a day. You really need 3 days to fit everything in. And where are you at? I am in Missouri. I'm east of Springfield, Missouri, about an hour and a half. I started out forging traditional Japanese style bladesmithing. Hey, Papa Peppa. And if it wasn't for Papa Pepper's help, we wouldn't have been ready for concrete. So, yeah, thankfully, I had some friends come in and help. Some for a few hours, some for more. But anyways, so I started out forging documents. Yeah, I think the Clintons might be interested in your expertise. Oh, nice. Okay. So I forget what I was saying.
You were forging.
I started out forging like traditional Japanese style blades. Came home, build a forge, started forging knives, and I enjoyed forging. But my problem is I didn't want to sell something that I wasn't sure of the quality. And when it comes to forging, it's a skill. It's kind of like sharpening. And anyways, I moved to more stock removal when I started doing larger numbers of knives. And originally, I was gifted a custom knife from my father when I was like 16, 17. And I loved it. It was a boat anchor. Like it's funny when you don't know anything about knives, the things that kind of stand out for quality may not be quality. So what I liked about it is it fit my hand really nice, but it was really heavy. It was a really heavy knife. And
it was a hunting knife.
It was a hunting knife, a hunting skinning knife. And it's a good knife. I still have it. However, when I started making knives, I started to realize I'm pretty sure this knife was just like a knife kit's knife where, you buy a blank and you slap a handle on it and, you customize it for people. I'm not trying to take away from what it was, and it still takes skill to do that, but it's not the same. Like, and it's I think a lot of people who forge knives might think the same thing about stock removal guys. It's like, oh, they're not really making knives, you gotta forge it, like, and I used to be that guy, like, if you don't forge it, you're just doing stock removal, but really, what are you looking for, right? You're looking for quality. You're looking for, a good cutting edge and retention and skilled craft. And the thing is with stock removal, I think it's easier to work with known materials, known. It's no different than trying to cook over a campfire versus cooking in an oven where you can turn the temperature exactly where you want it. And so it takes less skill, but you have it's repeatable. And I think there's probably a lot of knife makers out there selling forged blades that the quality may not be there. And sometimes, and this is something that I found, some people get upset. I took one of my stakeholders to a knife maker's, I don't remember if it was the ABS or the Knife Makers Guild show. And he walked out of there with me. Yes, it's really only Tuesday. He walked out of there with me and he's like, man, what people want titles or, people that don't know quality, they trust in titles. And so something like a Master Smith or a journeyman, ABS, Master Smith, whatever. People, once they get that title, people trust that. But that doesn't mean that they're putting out the quality of work that they should. Those groups are supposed to be kind of ensuring that their makers are putting out good quality, but it's not always the case. So I sold that knife I just auctioned off. I went to send it out today, and I noticed there was something that I didn't like on it. And so I got out the sandpaper and I worked on the handle a little bit, which turned it into worked on the handle a lot. And I probably spent another 2 hours on that knife that was already done. My wife's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I just can't send it out." Like, she's like, "You need to quit." I'm like,
they had very accurate photos of this knife.
Yeah, I already had photos of this knife. It's fine, whatever, but I didn't, and it's still not perfect. There's still things like I could still spend a couple more hours on that knife and make it really really nice. So, but yeah, and it's something like you're like, oh, I'll just touch this up, and then it turns into a bigger ordeal than it needed to be, and all for something that somebody probably would have never noticed. So that's the real struggle I have, is knowing when to quit, because when it comes down to it, a lot of people just want a knife to use, and they don't need it to be perfect. And most people would be happy with knives that I throw away. And so going forward, I'm going to have some knives that are using knives that I don't spend 40 hours trying to make perfect. It's just hard for me to do that. So that's that. Classes. Yeah, if you want a class, email me, patrick@mtknives.net. Subject class. Tell me what kind of class you'd like, how many days you can have, what your budget is, and we'll see if it works out. If I have enough interest, I'll make a class for you. So definitely looking at classes. I know somebody reached out to me and wants me to come to Kansas and teach a bunch of young men sometime in January or February. I'm going to get that on the calendar. But yeah, I'm looking to fill up some classes for next year. Looking forward to getting my stakeholder knives, my limited edition knives done. I'm like halfway. I'm mostly done. Not mostly, but Blade Show East next year. Blade Show East. That's the normal Blade Show, right? The true. Atlanta. I go to Blade Show Atlanta some years, most years. I would like to get down to Blade Show Texas. I don't know that I care to go to the Blade Show West, but I'll probably be going. We'll see. I go to Blade Show a lot of times to pick up material and to see my friends. But I went last year. I think I went the last 2 years. I missed 1 year. I've gone 4 or 5 times, 5 or 6 times. I haven't gone every year because it takes money, and I spend too much money when I'm there. I still have material that I bought probably 6 years ago there, because I like to collect material. So I need to make some more knives. I need to get some of that material used up. So anyways, thanks for tuning in. We will see you next week, Tuesday, 7 o'clock. Be there or be square. That's what they used to say, aging myself. Thank you for tuning in. Send me any of your questions or comments, patrick@mtknives.net. You guys have a great night. We'll see you next week.